Reluctant enemies, turn 1. There's no initiative this turn. Automatically the Commonwealth is the first player. So we'll just get right to it. Weather's always clear, so we'll just roll for a supply. And reinforcements, none, so we get 1.5 supply points, but no reinforcements, no replacements. First we have our mode and movement phase. So first thing we're going to do is place the French armor and cavalry into reserve. Try to get them moving in our exploitation phase. Second thing we have to do is place our commando amphibious landing. We randomly chose this hex right here. We'll go ahead and place our commandos there. There's kind of an involved process for landing the commandos and determining where they actually end up. So we'll just sort of take that offline for a moment. Well, that was a bust. The commandos went ashore right here, but on the landing table rolled very low numbers and all were destroyed. So no commandos, no fun. So we'll just get on with our movement. The basic plan is going to be coast road and then the rail line up to Damascus. We're going to take a shot at moving along the inner side road here to support the Damascus attack, but we are not going to try to fight our way up the hills. That means this force right here is actually going to try to veer off and support the coast road rather than attacking north. I'm going to form a fighter sweep here. 3 against 2. Ooh. We're going to attack or abort with a loss. That's kind of rough. Otherwise, I think my movement is done. Starting to move the 5th Brigade down here to support this attack, which will be going up in this direction once the French arrive. Hopefully if we can bust out here, we can then break these guys through. Sometimes I do an overrun here. I just decide I'm going to take it a little more easy, not in a big hurry. No real big advantage to breaking out there. Here, I'm just setting up some attacks. Hopefully make a strong attack here, potentially some damage there. And then lastly, I actually brought in my air to make an attack here. I'm going to conduct my barrage here. So first we'll roll for any flak effects. And we are no problem there. And then we'll throw our little bit of ground attack there. And no effect either. No surprise. It's very rough terrain, not likely to get much out of our little attack. Now the all-important supply phase. Operations are controlled through supply allocation in this system. So we have a dump here, here, and here for combat, and then trace or subsistence supply is provided by railroads or primary roads, or I guess secondary roads really. So anybody within 5 hexes of these types of locations is in supply, and everybody's in supply. So now we'll move on to our reaction phase. Divishi can react with reserve units or air units. The idea is that the opponent can move against you in your turn. So I think I'm going to go ahead and respond with my artillery there. Effectively, I'm going to allow them to barrage in this turn, this phase I should say. Try to spoil that attack. Also going to fly some air, some bombers in. Try to spoil this attack here. Not a very strong bomber force, but they might be able to do some damage. And finally, I'm going to just sort of reposition forces because I've got people in places I don't want them to be. So I'm going to use my first turn to reposition them. Now we'll go to our barrage phase from this reaction. I'm going to fire this 8-point artillery unit right here because they're in the clear. They're within range. Fired up to 3 hexes, but they're in range right here in the clear. It's going to cost me 2 supply points. I'll swap that guy up for a 2. I should say supply tokens. And then I'll fire my artillery. Roll a pretty big number. And we got a disorganized. So that's pretty big. We're going to upset that attack right off the bat. I'll try to resolve this air barrage. That will be flak. There's no hit, and then we'll barrage. And no effect here. So, no damage done by the air. But a little bit of damage done by our artillery. We'll move on to the Allied combat phase with barrage. We did not gain any naval strength this turn, so we're left with only our 1 small artillery battalion there. But we got to do something. It's going to cost us a lot of supply, relatively speaking. I'll try to see if we can get something done. So that'll cost us 2 tokens to fire on this guy. And he is in some pretty strong terrain. But we managed to roll a nice high number for a disorganized. So that will reduce his effectiveness and help our attack a little bit. We also have this attack right here. We have 9 barrage artillery points. We can fire 9 at that. It also cost us 2 tokens. He's in a little stronger terrain position. Again, we roll a really nice number of 10. So that'll disorganize that guy. So 2 pretty good outcomes for our barrages. Intended 1 more attack here this turn right here, but with the disorganization of this stack, I don't like my chances of getting a decent shot at these guys in such good terrain they're in. So I'm not going to waste the supply and fire that artillery. Just going to proceed right to the combat part. First attack will be here. This battalion against that one. It's cost 1 T, 1 token of supply. Basically 2 to 1 odds. Don't like our outcome very much. It's an attacker option, defender option. I can't very well take a loss because the attacker will just retreat. So I'm going to retreat and hope that my reserve units can overrun and maybe get something out of that. So we try to blast a hole there and didn't get it. The next attack will be right here. This stack against that disorganized company, Vichy cavalry. I'm going to spend the full 4 tokens to attack against that depleted unit because I really want to open up that line here. It's going to take me right to the coast road. I rolled kind of just what I wanted. A very large loss. Defender takes 2 losses, so he's destroyed. But I got a exploitation E2, meaning everybody with a 2 or better action rating can exploit. That's going to be basically everybody. I'm going to advance into that hex, try to capture that supply. And we do capture the supply, so we're going to have a nice open track in front of us to try to make some progress out of that attack. We're going to take a very similar approach here. We have a huge advantage, especially against this disorganized unit. We're going to throw everything we can at him to the full supply cost in order to open up that spot. We need to get moving here. So we did destroy the defender, but we only got an exploitation result of 4, which wasn't quite what we were hoping for. This means I don't think anybody can actually exploit, since they're all 3 or lower. But anyway, we open up that spot. That's what we were going for. Now we'll have our Allied Exploitation movement. Again, this is an Exploitation 4, but none of these units are at a 4 AR. Despite that guy, he's actually a 3. He becomes a 4 later on. These are green troops. But we do have these 3 units in reserve. So we're going to play the 3 supply points to fuel them up and get them moving. So that basically gets us to the river. If we don't have enough movement points to go any further, we don't have enough movement points to overrun. We're going to try to capture that supply there. So we managed to capture 2 of the tokens, the other 1 retreated. It's just a convenient way to execute that maneuver. I obviously have to stop here, complete that, and then continue on. I have this guy here. So virtually everybody gets to move, since they're all 2 or better. They only get to move half, since they're exploiting rather than in reserve mode. So I can use those 1 and 2 right there. Lose my half movement points. I think I'm going to go ahead and release these reserves, but I'm not going to make an overrun attack here. I'm just going to try to cut him off. So I'm going to send the cavalry first. Send them out over here. And I've got this armored battalion. If I send them along this road, I can get them to about out here. But I don't really want the French attacking up this road. I want the Commonwealth, this 5th Brigade, to go up that road. So I think I'm going to be a little more cautious and just move him kind of this way. More or less just trying to get some in the back of this unit, either force him to retreat or stand there and die. So I think that'll do it for my exploitation phase. To finish out the turn, I can remove the disorganized from my units there that were beat up by that French artillery. To be clear, I did not want to attack across this river with those units that had exploited. I don't think they're strong enough, and I'd rather pile up some strength and go deliberately up this coast road. There's so many French reinforcements, it's not like getting across that river is going to help me instantly anyway. There's two more behind that one. So we'll move on to the Vichy half of the turn. Vichy get the rolls for supply and replacements. Programmer needs to fix that gigantic flag presentation. So no reinforcements and 1.5 supply points. Now the Vichy aren't going to get too many variable reinforcements, only one replacement. But there's a recovery system in this game where 1 out of every 3 losses can be returned to play. So right now the Vichy have 2 losses. Next time they get a loss, they will be able to return 1 of those to play. Once they do that, the other 2 are basically out of commission, and then it's the next set of 3 losses that generate 1 recovery and so on. The big question for the Vichy is how to organize the defense. We are sort of stuck with a rather large supply dump right here that we want to hold on to. That means we need to defend far enough so that we can move this the heck out of here and get it back into our hands in a better position. Obviously our strongest area is right here. That's right in front of Damascus. We wouldn't be we'd be in a very strong position, but not a lot of territory. Should be very susceptible to losses and retreats. So we're probably going to try a combination of things. A little bit of a forward and retreating defense, starting along here, just to get that supply out of there. We'll try to hold this road here, just to keep that approach to Damascus protected. And then we'll end up falling all the way back to there. The coast road's easier. We're just going to line up behind the rivers and force the Commonwealth to beat us back. A little game of attrition there. So where that really plays out is, where do we position our supply? So I think we need to run supply basically to this area so we can keep this area supplied. We have that big supply there to keep us in combat supply, so we'll just sort of try to shift that guy out. But otherwise we'll be keeping it along the coast road and Damascus. At present, just about everybody is in trace supply, except that unit right there. He's going to have to eat off the map from this little supply dump he's sitting on top of. I have to leave him there, just because he's foot movement, he's fairly quick, and I think he can be a bit of an impediment for a while there. Keep the Commonwealth at bay. Now the Commonwealth have nothing to react with, no reserve units. Their air units are inactive from their previous phase, so no activity there. And the Vichy aren't going to undertake any combat activities. Going to continue to position their forces for a little bit here. So we're not going to attack anybody, no exploitations, and we're not going to have anybody to recover since all of our disorganized units were destroyed. So I think that'll bring us to the end of that first turn here. Now the Allies might have made some progress along the coast road, but really not very far. They only got as far as this river here, and that was a foregone conclusion given the very small resistance at the border. So they have a long way to go. 3 rivers to pass and all the rough terrain on their right here. They made basically no progress anywhere else, but that's because I was very conservative in my movements at this point. I'm going to continue to play that way for a little bit here and see where it gets us.